POV, your wife calls you Mr. Safe, while HR emails you her affair details. Brace yourself, this isn't drama. It's the autopsy. I'm Jake, 34. My wife is Avery, 32. We've been together 8 years, married 5, no kids, just a senior tabby named Nacho and a condo we painted the color of optimistic gray. I'm the operations guy at a mid-sized logistics firm. Avery's in brand partnerships at a flashy tech startup, the kind with neon signs on brick walls and kombucha on tap. She's quick with a joke, ruthless with a calendar, and somehow makes every room pivot toward her like she's the center of gravity. The first sign that something was off came wrapped in a suit jacket. Her boss, Cole, 45M, started texting her after hours about strategy. Not unusual, right? Except the tone changed. Fewer bullet points, more winks. She'd tilt her phone away at dinner, smile at nothing and say, "It's just Cole. He gets anxious before launches." Then came the late off-sites, the weekends at team retreats, and a new cologne trailing her home, cedar smoke and orange peel, definitely not mine. Last month, my company held its annual corporate party, hotel ballroom, ice sculptures, a DJ who looked 12. Avery asked to come, said she wanted to finally meet the people who take you away from me. She wore this midnight blue dress that made strangers step out of her way. Cole wasn't invited, different company, but he texted her a half-fun, with a confetti emoji that somehow felt proprietary. For the first hour everything was normal. Small talk, rubber chicken, my manager doing the dad dance. Avery hugged my coworkers like she'd known them for years. Then, during a slow song, she squeezed my hand, said, "Restroom," and disappeared into the crowd. 5 minutes. 10. 15. I went looking. On my way past the service corridor, I caught a glimpse of Avery's dress rounding a corner and a man's hand at the small of her back. Not a coworker. Not a client. At my event. In my building. I froze like the elevator had opened onto a cliff. He guided her through the side exit that leads toward the hotel's private elevators. The hallway smelled like her perfume and that cedar cologne twined together. I told myself to be reasonable. Maybe a surprise? Maybe work? My heart hammered a reply I didn't like. When Avery returned 20 minutes later, she was flushed and glossy, hair a little mussed like static had kissed it. She tasted like mint and champagne when she pecked my cheek. "Long line," she laughed and stole a French fry from my plate with a hand that was still trembling. The band kicked into a louder song. People cheered. Somewhere in that noise, the music of my marriage changed keys, and I pretended not to hear it. Disclosure didn't hit like a slap. It seeped in like a draft under the door. First drip. A boomerang on the hotel's event page. Someone caught the mezzanine in the background. If you paused just right, you could see Avery and a man in a charcoal suit stepping into the private elevator. His hand hovered at her lower back, familiar like a finished sentence. I zoomed until the pixels whined. Cool. The caption was nothing, "Great night." But I felt the floor tilt. Second drip. My buddy Marco, IT, texted a photo from the ballroom photo booth reel the hotel posted at midnight. Last frame, blink and miss. A reflection in the chrome trim, Avery's midnight blue shoulder and that same charcoal suit sliding past, her hair a little undone, his tie loosened like a secret. I told myself stories. Work crisis. Coincidence. The kind lies you feed yourself so you can keep breathing. Then came the proof with a pulse. Avery left her clutch on our dresser the next morning. I wasn't proud of what I did, but I also wasn't ready to be lied to in my own house. Inside, a hotel keycard sleeve stamped with last night's date and a floor number that wasn't ours. Lip gloss, a safety pin, a receipt from the rooftop bar. 2 cocktails, 1 neat bourbon, 1 sparkling. Time stamped 11:47 p.m. while I was downstairs pretending the DJ's remix was good. Her phone lit up on the vanity, face up for once. A banner slid through before Do Not Disturb kicked in. Cole, still thinking about the elevator. You taste like mint and trouble. My mouth went dry. I could smell that cedar and orange peel again like it wanted to live in our vents. My brain tried to be clinical, but my body remembered textures. The heat that lingers on skin after a pressed-closed dance, the smear of lipstick that isn't where it started, the way fabric creases when hands pull with intent. Nothing graphic, just the geography of intimacy. I pictured her leaning against mirrored steel, breath fogging the chrome, fingers tracing lapels that weren't mine. It felt obscene because it was specific. I screenshot the banner like a coward and an archivist. I took photos of the keycard sleeve, the receipt, her dress draped over the chair still carrying a ghost of cologne that didn't live in our home. I didn't confront her then. I made eggs, overcooked them and listened to her hum in the shower. When she came out wrapped in steam and Sunday, she kissed my neck, soft, familiar. Last night was fun, she said into my shoulder, and I wondered which part she meant. By noon, denial had nowhere left to sit. I opened a new folder on my laptop and named it what it was. If I'm not crazy. I didn't yell. I staged it. That night I cued everything on the TV, the boomerang freeze frame of Avery in a charcoal suit stepping into the private elevator, the photo booth trim reflection, a photo of the keycard sleeve stamped with the hotel floor, the rooftop bar receipt, 2 drinks, 11:47 p.m., and finally the screenshot banner, Cole, still thinking about the elevator. You taste like mint and trouble. Avery came in wearing my hoodie and socks slid across the hardwood like it was any other Sunday. I handed her the remote. Can we watch my highlight reel? I asked. My voice sounded borrowed. Slide 1. She blinked. Coincidence. Slide 2. A twitch. Jake, that's chrome glare. Slide 3. Her throat worked. I picked that up off the floor by the coat check. Slide 4. Client comp those, I didn't even drink. Then the text banner filled the screen, black letters on white like a verdict. She went very still, then down, actually down, onto her knees on the rug, fingers clutching my jeans like a ledge. Tears came fast, hot. Please. Please, it's not what you think. He's my boss. He panicked about a bored email. I walked him out. Jake, I swear. She pressed her forehead to my shin like prayer. We kissed. What? Stupid, champagne, elevator nerves. I hated it after. I didn't touch her. He says you taste like mint and trouble. I chewed a mint because I was nervous. She latched onto the smallest truth like it could tow the rest. Cole is intense. He makes everyone feel chosen. I felt seen. I'm so tired of being the reliable one. Did you book a room? No, a beat too long. He had one. Jake, I didn't go in. I swear on. Don't swear on anything, I said. Tell me the whole thing so I don't have to imagine worse. She crawled closer, mascara streaking, voice breaking at the edges. We danced a little upstairs. He said I smelled like orange blossoms. In the elevator he put his hand at my waist and she swallowed. I let him. It was a spark and a cliff at the same time. The doors opened, I came to my senses, I ran. That's it. That's all. My chest hurt in a clean, surgical way. The image of her in that mirrored box, breaths close, fingers splayed over lapels that weren't mine, wouldn't leave. Nothing graphic, just too near. I'll fix it, she rushed on, still kneeling. I'll go to HR. I'll change teams. I'll quit if I have to. Therapy. Post-nup. I'll earn you back. Please don't make this the end. My phone lit up on the coffee table. A preview slid in like a snake. Cole, HR Monday. We keep our story straight. You okay, eh? Avery saw it and went chalk white. Why does he think there's a story? I asked. Her mouth opened and closed. The room hummed. Somewhere, Nacho jumped onto the armchair and watched us like a judge. I didn't kick her out. I don't know if that makes me noble or stupid. Maybe both. I told Avery we'd try 30 days of glass. Total transparency, no drinks with Cole, no closed doors, therapy twice a week. She nodded so hard her ponytail bobbed, then slid off the couch and wrapped her arms around my hips from her knees, sobbing into my shirt. Thank you, she kept saying. I'll earn oxygen again. It sounded rehearsed and raw at the same time. Day 2, I woke up before dawn, hands buzzing like I'd held a live wire all night. I made a spreadsheet called Reality. I logged what we ate, where we went, who she called. Boring, clinical, the opposite of romance. I wanted boredom. Boredom meant safe. She deleted Cole's thread in front of me, then blocked his number. I watched her do it. I wanted that to be the end. But light finds dust. So do auditors. Small things started to click wrong. A gray chunk in her calendar titled Client Reset popped up and vanished inside 60 seconds. Fat fingers, she said, smiling too big. Our Amex showed a $186 charge at a boutique hotel near her office under meeting room rental. I called. They only rent guest rooms. It was Serena's birthday, Avery said instantly, then flinched like she'd answered an exam she hadn't studied for. Therapy was a kaleidoscope. She cried hard, talked about feeling like a utility, plugged in when needed, unplugged when not. She said Cole made her feel chosen in a room where she's usually the chooser. She called me safe, again like it was a diagnosis, and then grabbed my hand like it was a dock in bad weather. I squeezed back because I am that dock even if the boat's got holes. Midweek, I found a keycard sleeve in the pocket of the midnight blue dress she'd worn to my party. Different hotel. Older date. Before this mess. When I asked, she folded instantly. That was a vendor dinner last spring that got flirty? I didn't cross the line. Always that line, always almost. Then the skeleton parade. A personal loan she'd taken in my name, to float Q2, her little brother Zeke borrowing from our emergency fund to start a podcast, a certification on her resume that was really a weekend course. I just wanted to look like I deserved the chair I was sitting in, she whispered, voice shaking. I'm not a monster. I'm messy. I told my parents because secrets rot you from the inside. My mom, Margot, went quiet in that dangerous nurse way, then said, don't let her tears do your thinking. My dad, Dennis, is an old-school machinist. He wiped his hands on an imaginary rag and said, measure twice, cut once. You're measuring now. Avery's mom, Trish, called me at 11 p.m. with a Weinsler sermon about ambitious women getting punished. Her stepdad, Walt, texted me a GoFundMe for Zeke's podcast equipment. I stared at my ceiling until sunrise and wondered how many people were standing on my shoulders while telling me I'm tall. On day 10, a banner slipped through Do Not Disturb before Avery could grab her phone. Cole, HR wants a chat. Keep our elevator story tight. She screamed, actually screamed, and dove for the phone like it was a grenade. Then she folded at my feet again, forehead to carpet, hands clutching my shins. He's lying to save himself, she sobbed. I'll quit. I'll write a statement. I'll go live and say it was all a rumor, whatever you want. Please don't give up. I helped her up because I'm not a monster either. But something in me had shifted from grief to math. I could try to be the harbor, but I couldn't pretend not to see the storm anchored to her deck. I turned into an archivist because feelings lie and files don't. While Avery napped off a therapy hangover, I sat at the kitchen table with coffee gone cold and built a folder called Clarity. Screenshots of calendar stutters. The boutique hotel meeting room, charged with the clerk's cheerful email, we only offer guest rooms, sir. A PDF of our Amex with every wellness and hospitality tag highlighted the color of a bruise. I wasn't planning a courtroom. I was building a mirror big enough to stand our marriage in front of. HR found me before I found them. An email from a general counsel address. We're conducting a confidential review of potential policy violations involving supervisory boundaries and travel practices. We may request your cooperation. 10 minutes later, another ping, from Cole of all people, landed like a mosquito in my ear. Avery tells me you're upset. HR may reach out. Best to keep our elevator misunderstanding in perspective. I sat there and tasted metal. That night I asked Avery, calm as I could manage, to walk me through the elevator misunderstanding, beat by beat. She went liquid, eyes flooding, shoulders shaking, her whole body sagging toward the carpet like gravity remembered her name. Then she dropped to her knees again, hands clutching my thighs, crying so hard it came out as hiccups. We kissed, she choked. He pushed, I floated, it was a spark and a cliff. I didn't cross the line. I didn't. She dragged her palms up my jeans like she could climb back into the version of us where I believed her. Jake, I will quit tomorrow. I will email HR tonight. I will sign a post-nup saying every dollar I ever spend gets an audit. I will sleep on the floor if that's what you need. Please don't end us. I wanted to be moved. I was, in a way, but not toward forgiveness. Toward finish lines. I called my parents to prep them for fallout. Mom said, if you try with a plan, not a wish. Dad said, don't let a man in a nice suit rent your self-respect. Avery's side was louder. Trish left me a 6-minute voice note about jealous men kneecapping women, then texted, family dinner. We will clear the air. Walt sent a meme about haters, then a Venmo request for Zeke's mic. Zeke himself DM'd me, yo man, we good? Also, do you still have that Best Buy card? The next morning I got what I didn't know I needed, proof with a heartbeat. Avery stepped onto the balcony for a therapist call. I hit record on my phone before the slider clicked. Her voice floated through the glass, low and urgent. No, we can't text right now. HR is sniffing. He'll stay, he's safe. That's who he is. Yes, I miss you, but we have to torch the trail. Torch the trail. I replayed it 3 times until the words lost shape and kept their meaning. When she came back in, eyes damp, she went to her knees without being asked, palms up like an altar. I'll do anything, she whispered. Name it. Honesty, I said and mirrored my phone to the TV. Her own voice filled our living room, telling on us both. She folded in on herself, a paper crane unwound. I'm sorry, she said over and over, as if the repetition might sand down the edges. That night I stopped sleeping and started packing truth. I drafted a plain, adjective-free statement for HR. I gathered the keycards, the receipts, the chrome reflections. I wrote the terms of my last try on a single sheet of printer paper and taped it to the fridge. No contact. Full transparency. Therapy. Family dinner for disclosure. One toe out of line, exit. Avery read it, nodded and sank, again, to the floor, tears tapping the tile like rain starting up. I didn't pull her to her feet. I was saving my hands for carrying myself out if I had to. Trish insisted on a healing dinner. My mom called it an autopsy with appetizers. We went anyway. I brought a thumb drive and the appetite of a man headed to court. Avery walked beside me like she was made of wet paper, eyes swollen, knuckles white around a casserole no one asked for. At the door, Trish hugged me with perfume and performance. "We'll clear the air, Jakey," she sang. Walt slapped my back like I'd scored a touchdown in a game I didn't want to play. Zeke asked if I could spot him for gas before we'd taken off our shoes. My parents arrived 10 minutes later, Mom holding a pie like a gavel, Dad already jaw set. We ate in a hum made of cutlery and denial. Trish toasted, ambitious women enduring small men's storms. Mom coughed wine into a napkin and said nothing. After plates clinked empty, I stood and plugged the thumb drive into the TV. "We're going to watch a few minutes of honesty," I said. Trish's smile tightened. Avery made a tiny sound, then slid right off her chair onto her knees, palms up. "Please don't," she whispered, mascara already cutting tracks. "We can talk." The screen said enough. The boomerang freeze of the elevator. The photo booth chrome reflection. The keycard sleeve. The rooftop receipt. The banner, "Cole, you taste like mint and trouble." Then the balcony recording, Avery's voice low and intimate. "He'll stay, he's safe. I miss you," torch the trail. No adjectives. Just facts and her own vowels betraying her. Walt stared like the TV was buffering. Zeke muttered, "Dang." Trish shattered into theatrics, clutching her chest. "This is contextless sabotage." She rounded on me. "How dare you humiliate my daughter in her own home?" "In your home," Mom corrected, voice steady as a tourniquet. "Not hers." Dad said nothing, he didn't have to. His silence was a verdict. Avery crawled across the rug to me, actually crawled, pajamas dragging threads, forehead pressing to my shoe. "I'm sick," she sobbed. "This isn't me. I'm empty." I felt seen and it spun me out. "I'll go to inpatient therapy. I'll quit. I'll sign whatever. Don't end me." She clutched my calves like an anchor. I had to plant my feet not to stagger. Then came the skeletons no one invited. Mom asked softly, "Is this new?" Zeke snorted. "Newish. There was that LA vendor, remember?" The room snapped to him like a flock. Trish hissed, "Zeke," but it was too late. He shrugged. "What? You said it was a gray area, and NDAs are grown-up boundaries." Avery's face went white, then streaked red. "It was before the wedding," she croaked. I hated myself after. I swore. "Never again," Dad finished for her. "You swore a lot." My phone buzzed on the coffee table. A preview lit up in front of everyone. "Cole, HR Monday 9 a.m. Keep it clean. We're aligned." The timing was biblical. Trish lunged for the phone like she could suffocate the screen. Avery let out a sound I've only ever heard in hospital halls and on battle footage, human and animal at once. I kept my voice even. "Here's what happens next. Joint cards are frozen. My savings are moved per the prenup. Tomorrow, I file for divorce citing misuse of marital assets and documented infidelity. I'll cooperate with HR. I'm requesting reimbursement for every charge tied to this. There will be no contact outside of counsel and therapy. And I'm not your safe anymore." Trish spat, "You're ruining her life." Mom finally looked at her, tired and kind and iron. "She did that," she said. Walt opened his mouth, then closed it. Zeke asked if we could still do the Best Buy card for a mic. Avery's hands slipped from my legs. She rocked back on her heels, small and shattered, whispering, "I didn't mean to be this person." Maybe she didn't. But she had been, long enough to burn our house down in front of everyone who loved us. And now we were all just standing in the smoke, blinking, realizing there was nothing left to do but leave. The next morning I woke up with a strange kind of calm, the kind you get after a storm when the power's out and you can hear your own house breathing. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and turned every bruise into bullet points. "Miss Patel, recommended by a friend who survived a similar wreck," answered on the second ring. I walked her through the folder names, clarity if I'm not crazy, balcony. She listened, then said, "You've done half my job. Keep your adjectives at home, lead with timestamps and policy. Revenge, it turns out, wears a collared shirt." I sent HR a clean timeline. Dates, receipts, hotel confirmations, the elevator images and relevant audio. No flair. No adjectives. Meanwhile, Miss Patel drafted the filing. Dissipation of marital assets and documented infidelity. She reminded me to move my half of savings per the prenup, already done, and freeze the discretionary card, done. She asked about proof of no contact. I showed her the fridge rules I'd taped up like commandments. She nodded. You're building exits, not explosions. Good. Avery pinged me from 3 different emails and a texting app I'd never heard of. Apologies, promises, therapy screenshots, voice notes full of water. At 1:12 a.m. she showed up at the condo door in a hoodie, rain dotting the fabric, and slid down the frame to the welcome mat. On her knees. Please, she whispered through the wood. I'll die without you. I watched her through the peephole and hated that a part of me still wanted to open, to be the soft place she could wreck and rebuild on loop. I didn't. I texted, contact counsel only. She cried harder and eventually drifted away like a tide that forgot how to come back. HR moved fast. By Monday afternoon, Avery was on administrative leave. By Thursday, Cole was stepping back. He sent me one more message, we can handle this discreetly, and I let Miss Patel handle him. Trish went live on Facebook with a ring light and the caption, "When strong women are punished," then texted me a spreadsheet of Avery's projected losses like I was a grant committee. Walt asked if I could co-sign a lease for Zeke, until the podcast pays. My mom dropped off soup and a note that read, "Your piece is not up for discussion." Dad, accidentally, left a spare drill in my hall closet so he'd have an excuse to check on me. Nights were the hard part. I'd lie in the quiet and hear echoes, elevator dings, the wet hush of fabric, the way she'd say my name when she wanted to be forgiven. I tried to be the guy who forgives and stays. I tried for exactly 2 days. I kept replaying the balcony audio until the hope muscle in my chest went numb. He'll stay. He's safe. Safe like a doormat. Safe like a storage unit. Safe like a man who mistakes endurance for love. So I made a different list, one that didn't have her on it. Climbing gym intro class. Tuesday open mic sign up. Road trip the coast in October. A budget for gear and gas, not dinners for 2 at rooftop bars. It felt petty to call that revenge, but it was mine. Building a life so full of my own gravity that anyone who wanted in had to respect orbit. When the email hit, decree signed. I sat in the kitchen and let the quiet settle. Then I closed every folder named after pain and opened a blank one called Next. Not dramatic. Not sexy. Just clean. And finally, enough. Mediation looked like a dentist's office for broken promises. Neutral carpet, soft art, tissues within arm's reach. Avery arrived in a navy sheath with swollen eyes and the posture of a TED Talk apology. Before we even sat, she folded, literally slipped off the chair onto her knees on that office-grade Berber, palms up. "Jake, please," she whispered, tears hitting the carpet in tiny dark stars. The mediator blinked like she hadn't read that chapter in the handbook. Miss Patel slid a folder across the table. "Facts only," she said. Inside, the elevator stills, hotel receipts, HR emails, the balcony audio transcription. No adjectives. Avery skimmed, sniffled, and tried every exit ramp. Burnout, imposter syndrome, Cole is a narcissist, I felt invisible, I stopped at the line. The mediator handed her a tissue. Avery used 3 like props. Then came the twist I didn't plan. Cole filed a counter-complaint that morning claiming mutual poor judgment and hinting I was weaponizing marital conflict. HR joined by phone. Serena, quiet Serena from Avery's team, had supplied screenshots where Avery labeled hotel nights as wellness and a sticky note. Change rooftop dinner to client ret, clean later. HR sounded weary and clinical. Ms. Vaughn, your supervisor confirmed policy violations. Termination for cause is likely. Avery looked like the ground fell away, then she reached for my knee like a lifeline. I pulled back. She crumpled, whispering, "I'll sell the car. I'll pay you back for every dollar. Please don't abandon me." My parents sat behind me, silent bookends. Mom's chin was high, Dad's hand rested heavy on my shoulder, steady, not steering. Trish barged in late, perfume first, phone in hand. "This is a patriarchal ambush," she announced to the room, then crouched beside Avery and stage whispered, "Cry smaller. Men hate big tears." Walt hovered in the doorway and Zeke texted me, "Yo, can you front me for a mic still?" Mid-mediation like comic relief written by a drunk playwright. The mediator asked if reconciliation was on the table. I heard my own voice answer before my brain caught up. "No. We tried for a month." She kept me as a safety net while she asked someone else for the trapeze. Avery clutched her chest and slid to her knees again, forehead touching the edge of the table like a penitent. Jake, I didn't mean to be this person, she sobbed. I was empty. You're the good thing. I'm the bad one. Let me fix it. For a second, something in me reached the old reflex of catching fragile things. Then I remembered the balcony. He'll stay. He's safe. Safe like a doormat. We signed the memorandum. I keep the condo. She reimburses the affair spent over time. No spousal support due to Furka's termination and prenup terms. No contact beyond counsel. Ms. Patel slid me a small, satisfied nod. HR thanked me for professional cooperation, like I'd helped assemble a shelf. In the hallway, Avery lunged one last time, arms around my waist from her knees, face buried in my jacket. Please, please, one more month, I'll cut off my hair, my job, I'll become boring for you. She was crying so hard the words hiccuped. Trish filmed herself in the reflection behind us, whisper tagging #StrongWomenRise. Mom stepped between us like a nurse in a code blue and said kindly and firmly, "Up, Madison." Dad took my elbow and guided me toward the elevator that did not hurt to enter. As the doors closed, I caught Avery's eyes, wet, furious, begging. I didn't see a villain. I saw a person who burned down the house and wanted me to live in the smoke because she was scared of the cold. I pressed L for lobby and felt the car descend like a pulse settling after a sprint. The weirdest part after the signatures wasn't the silence. Was the space. Drawers I hadn't opened because they were hers. Saturday afternoons that weren't filled with errand lists. Even the air felt different, like the apartment exhaled. I started small. I fixed the squeaky hinge Dad kept pretending needed him. I took Nacho to the vet and didn't text anyone updates. I slept without the balcony audio on loop. That last one took practice. Then I made myself a promise that sounded like a dare. Do 3 new things that aren't about surviving her. First was the climbing gym. Chalk dust, bruised forearms, strangers yelling, "You've got it," from the mat. The first time I topped AV2, my legs shook and a guy named Theo fist bumped me like we'd stormed a beach. Second was open mic at a coffee shop that smells like burnt hope. I told a 5-minute story about the elevator that wasn't about the elevator, and a woman with purple hair snorted laughed into her latte. Third, I rented a beat-up Subaru and drove the coast alone. Cheap motels, sea salt in my hair, a playlist called Next. The families did what families do. Mom texted dinner photos like I might starve without proof of pasta. Dad stopped by to borrow a drill bit and stayed to watch the game. Trish went live twice more, #rising, #healing, and DM'd a payment plan for Avery's reimbursement like I was Wells Fargo. Walt sent me an RV timeshare pitch. Zeke posted an unboxing of a microphone someone else apparently financed. I turned notifications off and felt my nervous system unclench. HR wrapped their side. Cole resigned to pursue new opportunities, which his LinkedIn forgot bounced. Serena emailed me from a personal account. If you ever doubt yourself, you weren't crazy. Also, your boring evidence saved people. I stared at that line until the letters swam. Boring saved me. Boring like soup, sleep, spreadsheets, truth. Avery tried once more because habits are stubborn. 2:13 a.m., soft knocking, her voice through the door. "Jake, I can't breathe without you." I sat on the floor with my back to the wood and pictured myself opening it, pictured the same loop. Tears, Neil, promises, a month of glass, a new crack. Then I pictured the climbing wall, Moab Red Rock, the laughter at open mic. I texted, "Please respect no contact." The knocking faded. I didn't cry. I did breathe. On the road, somewhere between Monterey and a gas station with a cat that lives on the counter, I realized I hadn't replayed the elevator in days. I remembered the mint and cedar not like a wound but like a smell from an old house you no longer live in. That felt like a kind of miracle. I came home with sand in my trunk and a sunburn on my nose. The condo was still quiet, but it wasn't empty. It sounded like a place where one person actually lives. I put the guitar on a stand instead of in a closet, stuck my climbing tape on the shelf by the door, and pinned my Moab map above the desk. Revenge I finally got had already happened. In emails, in signatures, in the way I stopped being her safety net. The rest of it, this messy ordinary joy, wasn't revenge at all. It was relief. Was mine. The decree came through on a Tuesday that looked like any other. Clouds, coffee, Nacho yelling at a sunbeam. A PDF with a judge's signature ended a story I thought would last decades. No fireworks, no thunder. Just done. I forwarded it to Ms. Patel, archived the folders named after pain, and renamed the last one kept. Inside I put 4 things. The condo deed, a clean balance sheet, a photo of me on a sandstone rim in Moab, and a clip from open mic where the room laughed with me, not at me. I wish I could say closure felt like triumph. It felt like a deep exhale that had been waiting in my lungs for months. The apartment didn't sound empty anymore, it sounded available. I started cooking badly on purpose just to learn. I stacked books on the nightstand that weren't about trauma. I learned how to whip a bowling knot at the climbing gym, and for some reason that made me cry in the car. There's something about learning to hold yourself with rope and friction that feels like therapy in a different dialect. The family settled into their shapes. Mom kept being a lighthouse. Dad kept fixing things that may or may not be broken just to check on me. Trish pivoted to #resilience content and stopped tagging me. Walt pitched me an RV share one more time. I said no like it was a prayer. Zeke DM'd me a link to his first episode. I didn't listen, but I hoped he finished something. Avery sent one last email through counsel. A simple, "I'm sorry," attached to a payment confirmation. No grand speeches, no kneeling, no mint and trouble. I stared at the line where she typed my name, Jake, and felt, not nothing but not the old storm either. Grief had gone from weather to climate, present but livable. If you're here because your gut is screaming and your brain keeps telling it to be polite, here's what I wish someone had handed me on a single page. Trust the boring evidence. Screenshots outvote speeches. Don't debate in the dark. Turn on lights, lawyer, HR, boundaries. Safe isn't an insult. It's a harbor. People dock where they plan to return. Try once if you must, but write your exit while you try. Revenge that lasts is administrative, not explosive. Signatures beat shouting. Healing is chores and hobbies. Sleep, soup, friends, chalked hands, bad omelets, long drives. Your worth isn't dependent on anyone's electricity. Be your own gravity. Last week I played the open mic again. Same 3 chords. Theo from the gym showed up and yelled, "Send it," from the back. A woman with purple hair clapped off beat and grinned like we were in on a joke the world had missed. I walked home under boring streetlights feeling wildly, stupidly lucky. Not because I won. Because I kept the only things that mattered. My name, my spine, my peace. I'm Jake. I was the safe one. Turns out, safe was exactly who I needed. And that's the story I'm writing now. I have many other stories. Go to my channel, subscribe so you don't lose us. Give me a thumbs up.